All right, so we're a minute in. Thanks for everyone that is joining live. Of course, we will send the recording tomorrow morning with everything we've covered. And I'm sure people will join during the webinar as well. Feel free to drop in your questions during the presentation. My name is Billy Hussey. I'm Director of Marketing and Growth for Ducere Global Business School. And joining me today is Matt Jacobson, our president and founder of Ducere. And I'll take it over to you, Matt, so we can get started. And you can go ahead and share your screen and we'll get going.
All right, let me just make sure the share screen works first. Play from start. And how's that looking? Is that shared? All right. Well, great to be here. Very excited to chat to you all about MBAs and in particular, what are the economic benefits? What's the return? What's the rationale for undertaking an MBA? So I'm going to go into a little bit of detail about the program. The webinar should take about 30 minutes, so the idea is to be pretty short and sharp. But of course, we stay on for any questions, anything that anyone wants to ask. So feel free to be interactive and throw a question in the chat or whatever. But just before I start, I just wanted to kind of talk about my own sort of personal experience of founding Ducere Global Business School and working with universities all over the world to try and disrupt higher education. My initial degree that I did finishing high school was law, studied law, and it's not an easy thing to do. It's a lot of work and you're writing a lot of papers and taking a lot of exams. But you think you're doing all the right things because you're setting yourself up for a future career. And a huge shock for me, a big surprise for me is the day I started working, I realized that my university degree didn't set me up for anything. I didn't know how to do a thing in the real world, any type of practical skills, practical application. So the degree maybe helped me to get interviews for a job, but it didn't actually help me in a job. And throughout my career, as I've been talking to lots of people, the generalization is pretty much the same. Whether you study accounting, engineering, the university degrees typically are very academic, very theoretical. You hear people talking about having to take a Latin dance class or an algebra class, and how does that actually help them in their career? And so that was really the driving force of creating the world's most career-focused university, a university that genuinely helps people get a job, get a promotion, earn more money, have the professional development skills that they need to make their career dreams come true. So that's just a little bit of background. I'm going to go through this presentation fairly quickly, mainly because I want to just give an opportunity for any questions, but also because any enrollment advisor that you're speaking to can send this presentation. You can look at it in your own time and go through it in a lot more detail. So I'm just going to try to capture some of the highlights. So this is our executive MBA. This is the University of East London accredited executive MBA. And just to talk a little bit about our vision and then how this is differentiated from a traditional university, even though this is an accredited university program, how it differentiates from traditional academic programs. So the vision in the middle here is really the heart of everything we do. This is the foundation, the basis of all of our thinking, is to design and deliver the world's most industry-applied university degrees that advance students' careers. That is, in essence, everything that we do follows that vision of being the most career-focused and the most industry-applied. So I'm just going to start off here with why would someone undertake an MBA? What is the benefit? You know, a lot of people think it's great for prestige and having on your resume, and they've got maybe a personal desire to have an MBA. All of those are good, valid reasons. But there's also very, very strong metric, real ROI reasons to do a master's program. And this isn't research coming from us. This is from Forbes magazine or Financial Times or US Bureau of Labor Statistics. There's just so much research that if you have a master's qualification, you're going to have more jobs open to you, more opportunities for progression into senior roles, and ultimately you're going to be earning a significantly increased salary. And they're the real outcomes that we're looking for. Our focus is on career development of the students we work with. So very quickly, in terms of the structure of the program, It's a 100% flexible online accredited MBA, accredited by the University of East London. It's 6 classes done over 12 months. You have tons of opportunities for support, coaching support, academic support, all the way through, lots of webinars, lots of lectures, but there's no mandatory requirement to attend anything. So it's designed to fit around the student's schedule, the student's work, however they need to structure their time. You can opt into as much live sessions as you want, but everything is always recorded and everything is available in the platform. So you never have to worry about missing a lecture, or maybe you've got a work priority, or your kids have got a soccer game on and you can't attend a lecture. It's not an issue at all. You attend in your own time. So 6 classes, 100% online, no exams, and all tailored project-based assignments, which I'll talk about a little bit as well. But that's pretty much the overall structure, 6 subjects over 12 months. So enrolling into the September intake for this executive MBA, you will actually be graduating on campus in London next year. So pretty amazing. So I'm just going to touch quickly on what I was talking about earlier, the vision of being the most industry applied and the most career focused. So what does that actually mean in practice? So there's a couple of key elements to that. One is a concept of, to be the best, you need to learn from the best. So we have hundreds of real world leaders that teach in our curriculum. And when we say world leaders, we're talking about presidents, prime ministers, Nobel Peace Prize winners, billionaires, entrepreneurs, heads of the CIA, heads of the UN, even some celebrities that you'll recognize talking about their career and business experience. And this is all part of the program. So very, very engaging, interactive, documentary quality production where you're doing a degree, but you're learning from the best in the world. Of course, there are academics and professors that are lecturing and supporting you and grading papers. But unlike most traditional universities where the focus is on academics, for us, that's only one component. In addition to the academics and professors, you have all of these real world leaders teaching real world business skills. The second area that's really critical for being the most career focused is what we call tailored assignments to your company and your career. And what that means is every single subject and every assignment you can tailor to your own business and your own career. So this is one of the barriers. This gets to the heart of one of the barriers of doing an MBA. Often people might think, oh, I'd really love to get an MBA, but I'm going to go to a traditional college and maybe I work in, I don't know, a fintech startup, and I'm going to be told I have to write a paper on an oil company, or I'm working in the airline industry and I have to do some case study on an automotive company merger from 20 years ago. And so is it really that relevant to me? And the relevance actually has a tangible negative impact if it's not relevant, because you've got your day job and then you have to find time outside your day job to do your MBA. The two are generally quite distinct and separated. Ours is a work integrated MBA. So if someone was working in a startup fintech company, every single one of their assignments would be tailored to a strategic challenge within the fintech industry. So even though the subjects remain the same, say marketing or strategy, you're going to be tailoring your marketing paper to maybe an emerging market growth strategy for your business, or a strategy paper on how might artificial intelligence impact on the fintech world. Similarly, if you work in the pharmaceutical industry, in health services, in banking, whatever sector you're in, the entire MBA from start to finish is tailored around your career. So that has a whole range of really important flow-on benefits. Firstly, it's just great. It's more practical, it's more relevant, it's more exciting because students can see that what they're learning is so tied to their workplace. Second, you overcome that time challenge, because instead of having your day job and then doing an MBA, you're kind of getting an MBA working on assignments that you needed to do or wanted to do anyway as strategic projects of your business. So you're kind of getting the recognition at an MBA level for the strategic work that you want to be doing anyway. So that eliminates a lot of the time barrier. And then the final piece is there's no guarantee, of course, but most employers have a tuition reimbursement policy. And even if they don't, even though there's no guarantee, the best possible position you can put yourself in to try to get employer support, hey, would you fund part of my MBA, is to be able to show that your MBA is going to directly benefit the business. You're going to be working on really important strategic projects of the business, looking at world's best practice, and hopefully being able to get some really great support from your organization as well. So again, I'm not going to go through the whole presentation. There's videos here that take minutes, but just to give you an idea of industry's perspective of career-based applied learning, I'm just going to play a few seconds of the video and then feel free to watch this fully in your own time.
Sometimes people come out of universities and they don't quite have a number of practical skills that really matter.
Real learning comes from practical implementations. People can think that they've understood something in a book because they've studied it and passed an exam, but that's a very, very different thing to implementing.
So there's just a whole bunch of industry leaders and professionals from top companies, all talking about the same type of concept, that you don't want to just learn out of a textbook. Really, the most important thing is applied, practical, project-based learning. And these are some examples of companies we work with and specific projects they've done as part of their MBA. Okay. In terms of the platform, this is something, again, we can chat about a lot more with your enrollment advisor, but just to give an overview, the learning management system is the fastest growing online platform for higher education in the world. It's incredibly intuitive, 24/7, really easy to use. Even though it's easy to use, we still have an orientation taking all students through the different structure, the elements, how the platform works, where to find all the resources, study tips, how to use library resources, how to reference templates, examples. We're really there to make the journey as supportive and as streamlined as possible. So a really, really great platform that you can use on computer, on a phone, available to you anytime to do your reading and watch all of those world leaders who are really inspiring and amazing as well. Some more about some of the companies we work with. A little bit about University of East London. So this is one of the best known universities in the UK. It's a British public university. So you're actually getting the executive MBA from the University of East London. Your piece of paper will say University of East London, executive MBA. We facilitate the whole program. We deliver the whole program. We design the curriculum. But legally, formally, you're a student of the University of East London, and you get your degree from the University of East London. So they're founded in the 1800s. They're ranked in the top 5% in the world. And you can see some images of the campus there right on the Thames River in the heart of London. And you actually go and graduate on campus, which is pretty cool as well. So we have students from all over the world. So we get asked a lot about financing and finance options. There's a range of finance options. There's student loan options for Australian students, for New Zealand students, for UK residents. There's UK government loans. For American residents and citizens, you can access Sallie Mae loans, because even though it is an accredited British public university, it's fully registered and approved by the US Department of Education. So you can apply if you wanted a loan for Sallie Mae just the same way you would if you were going to NYU or UCLA. So accreditations, memberships from all over the world, investing in your future, we touched on, but just to reiterate, this is not just about, a nice thing to have or be, good to have this on my resume. Yes, it would. And it is very helpful to have it on your resume and on your business card to have name, MBA. But the real tangible benefits are the ability to get senior leadership promotions and to earn more money. And then the structure of the program. So entry criteria, there's a couple of options. We're really, really practical, where we want to see everyone break down barriers to accessing higher education. Often you can't do an MBA without a bachelor's degree. We accept a bachelor's degree as entry, just like anyone else would. But the big difference is we also believe in real world experience. So even if you've never studied before, never did an undergraduate degree, as long as you have real world management experience, so team leader, supervisor, manager, leader, maybe you've been a business owner, any type of supervisory management experience that gives you 5 years of professional experience will give you automatic entry into the MBA. So you can enroll today. You don't have to go and do a bachelor's first. You enroll directly into the MBA today, and you're going to be graduating in 12 months' time. So that's really, really practical as a great way to open up MBAs for people who are dedicated, hardworking, ambitious, but for various reasons, they never got an opportunity to go to college or complete an undergraduate university degree. So we have a scholarship rate that we're running right now for our intake for September. So ordinarily, the cost of this program is in US dollars, about $25,000 US. And the current scholarship we're running, we're a social enterprise, so we often are trying to do various things to help students take advantage of getting into an MBA and all the benefits and advantages of an MBA. So right now for this intake, we have a scholarship rate making the total tuition $14,600, or in pounds, just a little over £12,000. Again, you can get loans because you're paying this over the duration of the course. Often most of our students don't even require a loan, which is amazing. So no student debt, graduate really affordable. And typically an MBA in a US context is going to be around anywhere from $100,000 to $150,000. So $14,600 is a really, really amazing scholarship rate that's available right now. And I just want to confirm, because we often get asked, well, what additional costs are there? What hidden costs might there be? And that's a great question, actually, that we get asked, because it's really something that you want to investigate with any university that you're thinking about or talking to, because often they'll have a sticker price that might say $35,000, and you might think, well, that's actually not too bad, $35,000 for an MBA. But then they have an application fee, an annual fee, IT fees, textbooks that you're expected to buy. And they all might individually be relatively small, but you start adding them all up and thinking, wow, this isn't 35, this is probably more like $50,000. When we talk about the tuition, there is nothing else to pay. There is no admin fee, no application fee. You're not expected to buy any textbooks. We're talking about the total cost for the entire program. And then graduate on campus, super cool. Like, people will bring their whole family, cap and gown, get called up on stage, amazing achievement. You're not required to attend campus, of course. For some reason, some people can't attend because of work commitments, family, whatever. Of course, they'll still get their degree sent to them. But obviously, if you can attend, it's more than just the ceremony and getting the actual degree. You're meeting professors and meeting other students from around the world that you've been engaging with for the past year, and cultural tours and seeing a bit of the UK, which is a really great experience too. And that's pretty much it. So can you see yourself as an MBA candidate? That's the
market out there when looking for.
That's the big question. What are the barriers individually for yourselves around cost, around time, and speaking to your enrollment advisors about how we support individuals to overcome barriers. And some of these barriers are just incredible, the inspiring stories we've had. This is an online degree, so it kind of sounds a bit strange, but we've had fully blind students doing qualifications with us because of the accessibility components that we have. We have a current MBA student right now. He has 2 jobs and 11 children, and he's still getting through his MBA. So anyone that wants the dream, we are there to support it, and we help you and coach every step of the way. So I think I can stop the share there. And I can open it up to any questions, or if Bill, you've got anything you wanted to add.
Absolutely. Well, for everyone that's joined, you can use the Q&A function to ask us questions. We already have a few questions coming in, which is great. So Matt, I'll start with the questions and we'll just continue until the questions run out. First question that we have over here was, what is the Ducere difference? How does it compare to other online MBAs?
Yeah, so that's a really great question. So there's a range of differences really between what we're doing with the University of East London Executive MBA and traditional MBAs. I probably could talk about this for an hour, so I'll try to think of some of the key things, but really it's different on almost every level. So entry is different, just getting into the program. Typically you require an academic background, a certain GPA, etc. Affordability is going to be different. We mentioned before, especially with the scholarships, but being far, far more affordable. But I think really the biggest difference is that we are tailoring an MBA. You're doing a University of East London MBA tailored to your individual career, working on strategic projects and initiatives that are important to you and exciting to you. Whereas with pretty much any other MBA, you will be doing their program and you don't really have a say. If someone says, you know, there's a 5,000 word paper on Amtrak's that you got to hand in at the end of this month, well, that's what you're going to have to do. And regardless of whether you care about the railway industry or not, you do what your professor does. So you're very much beholden to what the institution is doing. And we are really at the forefront of tailored degrees that genuinely help businesses and the staff and the students with their personal career goals.
Fantastic. Next question, actually, this is an exciting one. This is the first marketing question I've ever had on a webinar. Where can I find the program on the UEL website? So if you go to the UEL website, where they host all their partnerships, like with Ducere and other universities, it's under the partners tab on the UEL website. So if you go to the UEL website, top right-hand corner, it'll have partners, and then we're listed as the third partner. So they've partnered with about 15 different institutions that do different things, and you'll see Ducere Business School there, and that's where you'll find us on the UEL website. That was exciting. I love the marketing questions. The next question is for you, Matt. Will or has this executive MBA been accepted in the US job market?
That's a great question. So the simple answer is yes, and I'll explain how and why it's accepted in the US job market. So firstly, the program is registered and approved by the US Department of Education. So it has an OPE number, so getting a little bit technical here, but OPE means the Office of Post-Secondary Education in the US. It's formally registered, formally approved. So that's often a technical question, like, is this formally recognized? Which, yes, it is. But this question is more about, is it industry recognized? So there's no regulatory requirement to recognize an MBA, unlike, say, if you wanted to become a dentist, it's a licensed environment. So the question is a good one. It's, well, how would industry perceive this program? And I think the students and the alumni and the companies we work with speak for themselves. So we have students and we work with companies from Bank of America, United Airlines, Apple, LinkedIn, PricewaterhouseCoopers, KPMG, just so many global companies that are working with us directly, or staff and managers from those companies are doing our programs. And the reason why that the deeper level, so yes, it's recognized, because when you're talking to employers and you're showing this is a world-class MBA, it's a global, internationally recognized MBA, you're learning from world leaders. All of those things are really exciting to be able to talk about to prospective employers. But then what's even more relevant is when you get down to the level of detail. Because normally when you're studying an MBA, you wouldn't really talk too much about what you did in your MBA because it's just not relevant. Whereas here, if you're looking at a job in cryptocurrency and working for a cryptocurrency company, you can actually get into the detail of, here's one project I worked on that was really important around a new technology in cryptocurrency. And here's another project I worked on in risk management. And here's something I did in competitor analysis. And so the employer's like, oh my God, this is like unbelievable. You just spent, you know, an incredible amount of energy focusing on some of the critical core questions, issues, priorities in this exact sector. So I think that's probably what's, you know, the most relevant from an employer perspective, that yes, you can tick that box. You can tick that box in a lot of places, but we go well beyond ticking the box that you have an MBA and actually being able to talk with the hiring managers about why you are expert and you've just studied a postgraduate qualification that goes to the heart of all of the key strategic things happening within that sector. And that is completely unique in the industry.
Brilliant. Fantastic. Next question is, what if you do not complete the course in 12 months?
So there's no requirement to complete in 12 months. So 12 months is the standard time frame, and it's only 6 classes. And the way we even structure those classes is really clever. So remember, there's no exams. You study at your own pace, in your own time, and you only ever take one class at a time. So unlike traditional universities that have multiple classes that you do simultaneously, that starts getting hard to manage because you could have just randomly 3 assignments from 3 different subjects are all due in the same week, and you might have gone a month without having to do anything, and all of a sudden you're a bit panicked that you got 3 assignments due all within a matter of days. We do one class at a time. You start a class, you finish it, you move on to the next one. So it is very, very practical to complete that within 12 months. And remember, all of your assignments are not on top of your work and separate. They're work integrated assignments. So you're doing them really as part of your day job. But the technical answer to the question is life, sometimes things get thrown at you. You might be about to have a baby. You might be changing jobs. And for whatever reason, like I need to defer and I need to take off a term, you can absolutely do that. So you're not required to complete in 12 months. It's just that's the general structure, but you can, of course, take time out, defer if needed. You're not going to get penalized. There's no issue with doing that.
Great. Next question is, does the EMBA work as a stepping stone to a PhD?
Yes. So any master's qualification can give you the ability to apply for a doctoral program. But, there's some gray area within that. So firstly, it depends on, what you're looking at doing in a doctoral program and where you're looking at going. So does Cal State Fullerton technically allow a master's program to progress into a PhD? Yes. But will Harvard take you guaranteed if you did a Cal State Fullerton master's? No. It's up to the individual university to set their own criteria of standard. Did you get, a 90% average, or did you scrape through and you still graduated, but you got 50s? All of those things are going to be relevant. And the question was around PhD. But something that's really important to remember is there's a number of different doctoral programs, and you can do them through our university partners or any independent university that you can apply to. But instead of a PhD, which is very, very thesis focused, maybe if you wanted to go into academia, you can do a DBA, which is a doctorate of business administration. So it's still the same level, it's still a doctoral program, but it's more focused on practical outcomes. It's kind of like a higher level MBA of classes rather than a pure thesis. There's also what's called a doctorate of professional practice. So unlike pure theory, which is your typical PhD, something that might get written up in an academic journal, a doctorate of professional practice means you're looking at something really interesting as a challenge, an area in your industry that actually will lead to something that can be used and is practical. So a bit of a long answer, but the point is there's lots of different options depending on which path you want to go down. But this is a recognized, globally recognized public university master's. And of course, that means you've got ability to apply to go further with your studies beyond that.
Perfect. And as Blake just said, a follow-up to that, is this degree recognized and accredited in Canada?
So the degree is recognized globally in the sense that it's a British public university, and there's reciprocal understanding of that. So if you went to McGill University in Canada and you went to move to Scotland and were applying for a job in Scotland, it's not registered specifically in Scotland. It's a Canadian university, but everyone knows Toronto University or McGill University is a real university. It's a genuine university. And what you can do if you're not sure about just the market perception of, say, a University of East London, there's also these huge global bodies that cross-reference and cross-recognize in any market. So one of the biggest in North America, because the question was around Canada, is called WES, World Education Services, and they're really good at recognizing qualifications from one country into another country. So University of East London is absolutely recognized through World Education Services, but that's kind of almost like goes without saying. But I think where that's more of an issue is if someone did a degree in, say, Fiji or Sri Lanka in an institution that most people have never heard of, that's where West becomes more relevant, because they're the ones that map and reference the equality of the different programs in different countries.
Fantastic. Another question about the tailored program. So beside the tailored programs, how many hours does this add on top of my full-time job?
That's a really great question. So we typically try to break up that question into two components. What is the kind of theory and reading, listening to world leaders, case studies on world leaders, and how much is actually applied projects? And the reason we break that up is, one is really just the learning. You're going into the learning management system and you're reading some chapters, watching, some of these global leaders talk about their experience. And we would estimate that sort of pure reading and research is about 5 hours a week. So it's not a huge amount of work, and you can manage that around your own schedule. So you might want to do it early mornings. You might want to do just 1 hour during lunch break every day. You might want to just study on the weekends. It's totally up to you. There's no mandatory class time. But then your applied projects will be about 5 to 10 hours a week. But the reason we separate that is that's not necessarily looking at it as a 5 to 10 hours just purely because I'm doing an MBA. You're working on those strategic projects of your business. So if you're a manufacturing company working in the US, but thinking about expanding into Canada, so you're doing a market entry analysis of Canada, well, is that extra hours for your MBA, or is this a strategic project that you were going to do anyway? It's really combined. So yes, you have to do those hours, but we just don't look at it as I've got my day job and this is hours on top of that. We look at it as this is part of your working environment that you're doing these strategic projects, but about 5 hours of theory and another 5 to 10 hours to do your applied projects.
Great. And on the other end, this question is, if I'm not working right now, what is the Ducere advantage?
Yeah, great question. So I'd say the advantage is exactly the same whether you are in a job and working on applied projects for your company, or you are looking to get a job. So if you want to work for sports management and you want to work in the sports management industry, again, you could go to an MBA anywhere and just do a whole lot of generic underpinning learning. Whereas here, if your dream was even more specific, not just sports management, but maybe ice hockey, and you really want to be a data analyst in the National Hockey League, well, you could be doing all your projects on management, technology impacts on the hockey league, all sorts of projects around that space. So then when you're applying for jobs, again, you still have the benefit of saying it's an MBA. The first thing that comes up on your resume is MBA candidate, MBA class of 2024. So people see that kind of in big letters. Great. But then you can say, hey, I want to tell you about the amazing, emerging, world-class, best-in-class work that I'm doing specifically around data and analytics and management of the hockey league. You might have been researching, something really novel and interesting that's been happening in the hockey league in Eastern Europe, and talking to an employer and they're like, wow, this is like amazing. You've got all this knowledge that is so specific to our industry. So having that applied level of knowledge, we believe is the most important thing for genuine career advancement.
Great. And a question with that, with what you just said, are the applied projects a group project or individual?
Yeah, great question. So for the executive MBA, you have 5 classes, 5 subjects, all of which are your own projects. So individual assignments, working on your own industry, and you're just handing them into your professor and working closely with the staff to support you through those programs. There's a final subject, which is called an industry applied project. Generally speaking, that is a group project that we put a group of students on and assign them to a company. That might be working on a project for the United Nations, working on a project for Cirque du Soleil. So there's a lot of great benefits of that, working in a team, working collaboratively, figuring out how to work in a team that might be in different time zones, in different countries, different cultures, working on a new industry and a new challenge. You're not doing a case study about that company. you're doing a project, an applied project with that company. So this will always be a real challenge, a real project that you're engaging with that organization. So that is how most students would do it, because there's those benefits of having one group team project and doing something that takes you maybe a little bit out of your comfort zone. However, it's not mandatory. So again, someone who's passionate about sports management might just say, I don't want to do a project on the United Nations. I just want to focus on sports management, and I've got an idea for an applied project around sports management. They can do that on an individual level. It doesn't have to be in a team, but it's typically in a team.
Great. I think right now those are all the questions that we have. Just a reminder, as what Matt was saying, is that definitely talk with your enrollment advisor, as the intake is next week. There is flexibility with that deadline. And we are running a scholarship rate for this. This is the last intake for the year. The next intake is in January. So that £12,150 cost for the EMBA will be for this intake. So make sure you talk to your enrollment advisor. Application fees are waived, so it's free to apply. And then you can get your acceptance letter from the enrollment advisor to make sure that you get in, and then you can start the course in September. So just want to remind there. Matt, do you have anything else to add?
No, I think that's right. I think what you said is perfect. So there's no application fee to apply for this intake, for this enrollment. So there's really no downside to applying and getting a acceptance letter. So I think that's a good exercise anyway, particularly to see if you qualify. You can also speak to your enrollment advisor, but the qualification is relatively straightforward: bachelor degree or minimum of 5 years management experience. If you're not sure if you've got quite enough experience, your enrollment advisor within 2 or 3 minutes can talk to you about exactly what experience you've had and if you would be a good candidate and would qualify. So I would say there's no downside in getting your application in, because it's super easy to do, and there's no cost associated with that. And once you are accepted into the program, of course, even with that reduced rate, we're a social enterprise. We self-fund education across the whole continent of Africa. We try to make it as accessible and affordable as possible. But even with that, there's still challenges. So once you're accepted, we have loan options, finance options. So step one would be to get into the program and get accepted. And then we can discuss and look at various ways we can support from the financing side as well.
Fantastic. I actually got one last question from that. Pretty interesting one too. Is if I apply and get accepted, does the scholarship rate qualify me for the next intake?
So that's a good question. So sometimes this does come up. People say, I'm really interested, I love it, but I've got a whole bunch of things going on, and can I start next year? We can't guarantee the rate for next year. Typically, there are annual increases. So likely the fee will be different for 2024. But what you can do is you can apply, you can get accepted into the program. So you're fully registered and approved into the program, and then you're just deferring your start date. So you're accepted in 2023, and then you basically say, I need to defer the first semester, so I'm going to commence in January, but you're already registered from 2023. So anyone who's pretty confident that, yeah, I definitely want an MBA, I see the benefit of the MBA, I'm just not sure right now if it's the best time or starting in January is better, then absolutely get your application in, get accepted, and then defer for the first semester.
Great. We actually have another question. So questions are starting up again. Same thing with the acceptance. I was already pre-accepted. Do I need letters of recommendation? And if so, from whom?
Okay, so that's something that you definitely can speak to your enrollment advisor about. There are a couple of technical requirements for the enrollment, but they're pretty straightforward: resume, letter, reference letter. But we have templates and examples, because often if you need to get a reference from a manager or a colleague or someone you've worked with in the past, they're not really sure what they should be putting in a recommendation letter for an MBA. But once you send a template or a couple of examples, it makes it really seamless and easy.
Perfect. Well, thank you everyone for joining us. Of course, this recording will be sent out tomorrow morning via email from marketing, so you can rewatch it. And thanks for everyone for the questions, and hope to see you in this upcoming intake. And thanks, Matt, for joining us.
Awesome. Great. Thanks so much, everyone. Great to be here. Great to chat.